So our last name is Frey, so we're known as the Frey guys, so you can see our really cool logo. Little did we know when it was created by a good friend years ago how actual prophetic it would be. You got to count, and then you'll know how many kids we have if you can count the people. We have 5 children, and we raised them overseas in Kosovo for the past 21 years. And little did I know as a mother what I was going to get in the end when you raise your kids cross-culturally. They now all think that if they stay in any one place more than about 12 weeks, that's something wrong. You know, they need to get on a plane or a train or go somewhere. So our oldest is David. He's currently in missions in Japan. He's teaching English in the national Japanese schools. He went there with not a Christian organization, but he went there as a tent maker, and it was his missional heart that took him there. So we're very proud of him. He's been there 4 months. Our second oldest is Rama with the really straight long hair. She's in Alaska with her husband, and we just had our first grandbaby, and she loves the Lord, and it's so fun to see our little grandbaby in church when we got to visit for the first time. So I just see the legacy of generations, right? Our third born is Jonathan, and he's on Steve's whatever side that is. Without the beard. Jonathan, he's at school at MSU right now, and he's entering his senior year, and he's highly involved in Chi Alpha, which is the Assembly of God outreach to the campus. So he's leading men's Bible study groups and on the worship team. He is super fun to be around. Loves the Lord. Thankfully, they all love the Lord right now. Right now, they all love the Lord. Because we've had some messes along the way, and you never know what's coming. So right now, all 5 love Jesus. The next one is Naomi. She's not the littlest. She is on her way to Australia for missions with YWAM. She'll be leaving in September, so my heart will be a puddle again. I don't know, every time they go out, it doesn't matter how old they are, I am a mess. So there you go, that's my confession. The littlest one, she's almost 16. She wants me to say that, almost 16. She just got her driver's license, the youngest Fry guy to get a driver's license in our family, so it's absolutely terrifying. And you say things like, Jesus, take the wheel, you know. So she is our high schooler, and when we head back on the mission field, she will be finishing her 11th and 12th grade in high school, and her name is Selah. So there's our family. So now you know that little prophetic logo. They're like, once we get to Australia, it's like ding, 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 ding. You should see my little family app world map. I shrink it to the world, and I see everybody's little face all around the globe. So there you have it. You get to hear from Steve now about Kosovo.
Yeah. So Pastor Mike mentioned Yugoslavia, and you guys, you remember that, right? So Kosovo, do you guys know an idea like where it's at in general? Do you have an idea? Raise your hand if you know. He's got the map up there. So yeah, and it's actually on your board back there. I was shocked. Mike, good job. Like it's like tiny, tiny, tiny. It's probably like the size of this county that you live in. But there's about almost 2 million people that live there. How would you like that? Size of this county and 2 million people. You're like, no, I'm in Montana for a reason, to get away from people and give me my space. Those 2 million people, hardly any of them know Jesus. Like, no, 0.01%. So out of 2 million, about 2,000, maybe, that's a high estimate, they would say they know Jesus as their personal Savior. This is why we go. You're probably thinking, why would you go there? I mean, first and foremost, the Lord said, go. And you go because the Lord knows who you're going to reach and who you're going to touch, and that you are unique to reach that person. Do you realize all of you are unique? Can you say that? I'm unique. You are unique to reach and touch someone on this planet. Because otherwise, when you say, Lord, I trust you, I believe in you, I confess my sin, and what would happen? You just go right to heaven. But no, he keeps you here because he wants you to reach others. And that's really what missions is all about. So missions is all about you reaching and talking to your neighbor. That's missions as well, right? So we're all in this together. And I just thank you because of your prayer and your giving allows us to be in places like that people, they just don't know. They just haven't heard. And they maybe know Jesus. They've heard of the name. Maybe they've seen the Jesus film. But how many of you know it's like it takes personal touch and a lot of coffee? We drink a lot of coffee with a lot of different people because that's building relationship there. A lot of coffee houses, a lot of people that like to drink. So we're sitting in a coffee shop for hours talking with them, discussing and introducing. And part of the reason why this area is so resistant to the gospel is because of Islam. 99% of the people that live there would say, oh, I'm a Muslim. Even though like 10% maybe go to the mosque, but still it's like, oh, I'm a Muslim, so I can't, no. Jesus he's a teacher, he's a prophet, maybe, but he's not the Son of God, for sure. So how do you communicate that? Well, it takes a lot of love. It takes a lot of drinking coffee with them and introducing them. So that's where we've been for the past 21 years. And we got there in 2004. All of our kids were basically raised there, and so they've experienced all of that and just the difficulty. And really the first decade was kind of like learning what not to do. It was very difficult, very hard, and after that time we came back really actually in a depression because the church was not growing. In fact, after that second term, I came back and I was raising support, and my opening line was, honey, I shrunk the church. I mean, literally, the church that we took over from another missionary, a lot of them left the church after we took it over, and it was like, what am I doing wrong? What is going on? And so we were like done with Kosovo. And when I came back, and I'm like, I'm done. So I have a question for all of you. Has the Lord ever spoken to you about doing something? First, raise your hand. Hopefully everyone. Said something, given you an assignment to do something, do this, go and witness or whatever it is, or a job. And then have you ever run into difficulty trying to do that? That was Kosovo. It was like, boom, you hit a brick wall. We thought we're going to go there in the nation, it's going to be revival and all these people are going to come to the Lord. And guess what? It's like, nope, it's like shrinking. You're like, Lord, this is going in the opposite direction. And so you begin to question yourself and you question the voice that you heard. Have you ever been there? Question God's voice? When you hit a patch where it's hard to press through and you're not sure what's going on. So that's what was happening with us. And so that's why we came back literally depressed. I would say I was burned out. I was, and actually I took the Taylor Johnson, psych exam, and they're like, no, you actually are in moderate depression. And I was like, what? So we don't like to admit and be authentic of what's really happening here in our heart. And so it took us time. We went through some counseling, which was really helpful, and really got before the Lord. And it was after 4 months, okay, we get to the other side, and so we're like, okay, Lord, what's next? What's next for us, and where do you want us to go? Guess what he says? He said, go back to Kosovo. Go back to the place that just about killed us. What? I don't want to go back there. So you're like, yes, Lord. And so we did, and I'm so thankful that we did. Because you never know how it's going to end. But guess what? God knows how it's going to end in all of your lives. He knows how, can you imagine that? He knows how your life is going to end. He knows all the days before you. He knows what's going to happen. And that in the end, you can trust in him. You can trust in him. You can say, yes, Lord, I know. And I know you have a plan. So what I want to share today, our testimony for sure of what happened in Kosovo, but also a message of real hope and of real perseverance in what can happen. And so, none of us, choose despair. Does anybody choose despair in here? No. Who's going to choose despair? But yet, you wake up some days and you're caught and you're worried and or a sleepless night, and you're turning to what? You're turning to despair. Why? Because we're human and we worry a lot and we think about what's going to happen in the future. What is going to go on? Is this going to work out or not? And so you do have decision-making abilities, and it's like, Lord, I want to trust in you today. I want to believe in hope because you are the God of hope. And if you go to Romans chapter 15, you can open up your Bible today, or you could just read it there on the screen. That's the only verse I'm going to really share on today. And you can see it up there. So it says, may the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. And this is what I call like a power verse. It's packed. It's like there's a lot actually there. And so first right off said the God of hope. He is the God of hope. He knows. What is hope? Good definition of hope. Because I think we throw that word around a lot. Oh, I hope it's cooler tomorrow, right? Or I hope it's going to rain this year, or whatever. We throw that word around a lot, and really the biblical word of hope is way different than what our word of hope. Our word of hope is like a wish. It's a wishful thinking. The biblical word of hope is like knowing that all things are going to work out for the good, right? All things. That's what my Bible says. It says all things are going to work out for the good of those that love the Lord. So, meaning he is going to work it all out, but finish well. Keep going through the struggle. Whatever struggle, whatever you find yourself in, whatever situation, you keep going and it's going to work out. That's biblical hope. That's what he says. He's like, I am the God of hope. So the amazing thing is when you trust in him. So if you look at that verse carefully, the God of hope, he's going to fill you with what? He's going to fill you with peace and joy. Have you ever had those two work in tandem? Joy, you think of like, looking at those camp pictures, right? Like, that was probably joyful, right? High energy, joy, you're just feeling it. And then peace, though, you think of, can I go sit in a meadow somewhere or by a river flowing? How do those two come together? How does that work? Well, the Lord, he's the author of both. He's the most joyful being in the universe and also the most peaceful being in the universe. And wouldn't you like to be tapped into that? Like, yes, I want peace and joy. Well, how does that come? Because you trust. When he says to go, when he says, I have an assignment for you, when there's something you're worried about, and you can say, Lord, I need to trust in you. I need to work this through. And so when I trust in that, in his voice, then there's joy and peace that comes with that, right? So I want you to hold on to that. I want you to hold on to that thought and think about that. And even throughout this week, you can think about this, go back to this verse. But our time in Kosovo, going back to that, it was difficult, it was hard. It's spiritually a very dark place. It's just difficult some days to really wake up and have motivation for the day when there's very, very few believers. So we were, again, first decade, we're done, and Lord says, go back. And we're like, go back. Okay, so we go back, and the Lord moves us to a different place in the country, in Kosovo, to a place that is even more difficult and hard. It was a city of about 90,000 people called Mitrovica, and we knew 5 believers in that city of 90,000 people. Can you imagine that? City of 90,000, and there's 5 believers. Like, Lord, what do you want us to do there? What? And I was like, I don't want a church plant just ABC, just like some formula. Lord, I want your strategy. And here's what he said. He said, basically, you're going to pray and worship a lot. What does prayer and worship do? It breaks the fallow ground. And I had this, I won't go into this vision that he showed me, but basically I looked over in this tractor and it was turning over the dirt. And he's like, that's what prayer and worship does to the hard ground. I was like, oh, I can do that. Because I feel like everything we try to do, every evangelism thing was not producing fruit. It's like, what am I doing wrong? And this is when he says, you pray and you worship. It's like, okay, I can do this. So also in this city, we happen to inherit a broken down building. Who likes broken down buildings? This is the building that we inherited. And it was built right after the war. There was a war in Kosovo. If maybe some of you remember that, 1999. And anyway, the U.S. got involved, bombed Serbia, and Kosovo was liberated, basically. So the UN kind of took charge of Kosovo for a time, and it was a mess, still is somewhat of a mess. But in this city, this building was built, and this building was kind of like an aid center. A lot of, we had a full forklift and a big truck. Convoy of Hope was there, giving out a ton of water and blankets and, pasta and everything that needed for these people coming back after this war. And so, but since then, there had been 4 missionaries that had gone through this building. Like 4 missionaries, and they would stay for about 3 years and be like, I'm done. I can't, kind of like what we were doing. I mean, it's like, stay in a place that I'm done. I can't take it anymore. And so this building was there, and that was in the city that we went to, that the Lord told us to go to. And I was thinking, I don't want to have anything to do with this building. This building is terrible. It looks like a prison. How would you like to go to prison for church, So this is the crazy thing. And he's showing the next picture. This is the part of the thing where the Lord actually spoke to me, though, because I was about ready to get rid of the building. I'm like, Lord, let's do house churches. Let's do something like this. Get rid of this thing. And the Lord spoke to me and said, I want to use this building. The building has used people, but I want to use it for my glory. I'm like, okay, so what do you want to do? And that's when he spoke about different levels. And I told my wife, Lisa, I said, I feel like the Lord is speaking about this building and to keep it, and not only to do that, but to make it bigger. And she's like, what? You're crazy. You are nuts. And so, but that's what we did. We made this top floor. So there's 3 floors, and the bottom floor was like this warehouse, right? Just a big garage for holding supplies and all that. Empty, void. What are we going to do with that space? The second floor was like where we would meet for church and trying to disciple people and all the functions of that. And the third floor, I feel like the Lord gave me the idea to build a guest house and to make a prayer room. And that's what he said. He said, start with the top first. Start with the inside. And so that's what we did. It's kind of like, all right, raise the roof and go higher and expand so that we can have teams that will come and pray and worship. And so that's what we did for those years. And then we found out the building wasn't even ours, actually. Like, there was hurdle after hurdle after hurdle. And my area director was like, Steve, there's no way. You're going to have to give up the building. The building is done. You have lost. Like, ownership of buildings and property in Kosovo is a huge thing. If you can imagine that to me, and people right in a space the size of this county, you think it's a big deal? It's a big deal. And the former owners could come back and literally in one more year's time could claim this property. And we were like, what is going to happen? But we kept going. We kept going. We said, Lord, you have a plan. And in the meantime, the Lord sent someone beside Lisa and I, a young married couple, a national Kosovar, lovely couple, there they are, named Larry Doan and Besa. And they came beside us and said, we are feeling called to Mitrovica. So they would be considered home missionaries. They're from a town of about an hour and a half away from this city of Mitrovica, and they came and joined our team. And it was so incredible. I mean, it was just like this fresh wind that comes, and they start to be on our team. And this is in a country where there's not hardly any leaders, where there's not hardly any Christians, let alone leaders. Like this guy was just emerging and just coming up. So he joined our team, and they are there today. They're serving there today. And so if you go to the next slide, this is what happened to the building. That's the building today. And it's actually even more improved than that. Now there's glass out front. But the bottom floor became a coffee shop and a youth center in the back. We redid all the floors, basically, all the outside. And so now it is basically a community center is what happened. And guess what we named it? Hope Center. It's the Hope Center. And so because it's like a hope in that city, it's a place where people can come and hang out and have coffee and kind of like, oh, what is this place? Because I would literally see people walk down the street and they would cross the street, walk on the opposite side of the street, and then cross back over. Because, right, we're in a Muslim area, and the people there knew that this place had been started by a church. So hence the prison thing doesn't work. It's like we need to make this inviting as possible. And so that's the Lord. The Lord gave us those ideas, that vision, and he completed it. So this was done, literally finished 5 weeks before we got on a plane last summer to come back to the United States. I mean, it was just incredible timing. And then Larry Doan and Besa continued in that, and they're still there today. So I want to have Lisa come. And I want to have her share really quickly about a story, a testimony, and you can put up the picture that I think is the next slide. Yeah. You can share about this story, this testimony that what happened there in the Hope Center.
Yeah, so this is my dear friend Hanife, and she's not actually Albanian. She's actually from the Roma community, which here in America we'd say gypsy. Her house is right behind the Hope Center, so she had a lot of connection with all the missionaries for all the years that had been coming through. She was always really curious, and when I met her, our personalities just instantly matched. I don't know if you've ever met somebody where you're cut from the same fabric. So even though her Albanian dialect was different than the dialect I learned, so communication was really tough, we just hugged and kissed each other all the time, and I just really loved her, and we just got along so well. And I got to know more about her life, and like Steve said, it's a lot of coffee. So drinking a lot of Turkish coffee, so if we're really wired up, now you know why. We've had a lot of Turkish coffee flood through our system. So I was just getting to know her, and she started to expose some of her life, and telling me that her mom she had been the primary caregiver for her elderly mother, and her mother had died a few years before, and it just shattered her. And she lived alone, never married, and in this context and culture, for a woman of this age to have never been married, there's a lot of shame on her life. So she was just living in a lot of darkness, and she started to share even deeper that she wasn't sleeping at night, and she had a lot of fear, and she was struggling with depression. I was like, wow, this is really tough. And I felt like the Lord gave me a word to speak to her. And again, like the communication was a little stretched, but we say we operate in signs and wonders. I make signs and they all wonder. So, pointing and gesturing. And but I was able to communicate to her the word I felt God spoke to me, and it was that Jesus is the light of the world. So I kept saying, God is the light of the world. Zoti ashdrita e botes. And I didn't know if it meant anything to her. Again, she's never been a believer. She doesn't have any context. We all go, oh yeah, God's the light of the world. We know what that means. But to say it to somebody that doesn't have a background, I just thought, I don't know. But I just kept saying, God's the light of the world, and he can break this darkness. And so I'm using very simple terms because that's the best I can communicate. Gave her a Bible, and she started reading her Bible, and I just still thought, well, I don't know. She was one of the few educated women. Usually a woman at this age had never gone to school and would not be able to read, so she actually was able to read. So long story short, moving forward in relationship, and we are literally last year on our last day in Kosovo, and we're saying goodbye, really goodbye, because we knew we were done there in Kosovo. Steve will tell you what's next. But last day, Sunday service, we fly out early Monday morning, and I'm sitting in church with Hanife, and the Lord gave me a prophetic vision for her. And I saw a vortex like a tornado, and it was starting to suck up all of the junk in her life. And again, I don't have all the words for all these things. You don't just sit in language class and learn the word for tornado. They don't even have tornadoes there. So I don't know how to explain it, but I'm just praying, and she is sobbing, and she doesn't even know what I'm praying. I'm just praying, I'm sobbing, and our pastor, Larry Doan, recognizes there's something going on over here. So he comes to our area, and he sits with us, with Hanife and I, and he starts to very tenderly, and of course his language skills are amazing, very tenderly speak to her about the gospel. And he says, Jesus is the light of the world. And he didn't know I've been telling her this for months. He didn't know. And he just very beautifully articulates the gospel and how God can help break this darkness, and then asked her if she wants to surrender her life to Jesus. And she says yes, and we know this time it is legit. She knows what she's saying yes to. She prays. She's still in church to this day. She's loving Jesus. We get reports, but it was the most beautiful and precious gift to me, because we'd been there 21 years and can count on one hand the number of salvations, because it was just such dry and hard ground. So to have this precious woman say yes to Jesus the day before I flew away was just such a gift. And a gift to all of you, because you invested in this.
Amen. Yeah. Yeah, that was such an encouragement. And even today is such an encouragement to see Larry Doan and Besa there and continuing on. If it's on your heart, actually, they, like I said, it's kind of like they're a home missionary, but there's no churches established really there. I mean, we established the church, this little church, AG church, that's just starting to get going. But he gets his support all through some individuals that have known me, that want to help him. So talk to us afterwards if you feel like there's a nudge or something. If you want to support them financially, they need it. They live on, I don't know, like $900 a month. And so, of course, things are increasing. They have 2 children, 3 children now, actually. So things are going up for them. But we're going to be still connected with them. I still talk to them every month. Once we get over to the place we're going, which is Germany, we're going to be still visiting them and helping them out. So, yeah, our next really assignment that kind of just came about this year, what is in our Lisa and I's heart is like we want to go back eventually, maybe into the Balkans or places like that are just hard and isolated, and come alongside of other missionaries doing what we did for 21 years, church planting and doing all this stuff. So supporting frontline workers is basically our heart, and it comes alongside bringing prayer teams and maybe eventually, Mike, I know I've talked to you for sure about coming over to that place, but for the time being in Germany, this opportunity opened up. So we still have our youngest child, 15. She still is going to have 2 more years of high school left. And what this is, House Antioch is what it's called. It's a hospitality house right in southern Germany, right by the Black Forest Academy, which is a boarding school for missionary kids. So these are missionaries that are going to Saudi Arabia or really hard places where they really can't bring their children. And I'm thinking, wow, like to do that's like really next level. So this place has been established by a good friend of ours, actually. So we started talking about it. And what happens is missionaries come through, they drop their kids off, they're there for maybe a week or 2, so we get to really help them and pray with them and just, be alongside of them. And then they go, and maybe they come back during Christmas time or maybe not, but we get to host them and help them. And so we get to be a part of the Black Forest Academy with high schoolers and be as involved as we want with helping them process what their parents are doing, and how important is that for the next generation. And so our heart is really to bless them, to come alongside of them. And this opportunity hope opened up. And so through this, we'll be there for at least 2 years, and then we'll see where the Lord moves us next. But our doing this, of course, our budget has increased like by 30%, moving to Germany from Kosovo. And so we definitely need financial help. We need still prayer support, all of the things. And so, I just thank the Lord for supporting churches like you guys have been doing for so long, because really, we could not do it without you. And so if you want to sign up on our newsletter or be involved with us by financially giving you to, we are more than happy to have you part of our team as well. We'll be back at the table afterwards, and there's a QR code that you can say, it's Frey Guys, and you can click on that code, and then you can receive our updates if you want to be really tied in with what we're doing. But before we end this time today, I want you to really just be thinking about what in your life you would say is a hopeless situation. Do you have any hopeless situations in your life? Anything that you've maybe given up on? Like the point in Kosovo, we were, giving up. We were like, I'm done. And I can't do this anymore. And maybe some of you are at that place today. Maybe there's anxiety, or there's depression, or there's a place where you think about a situation in your life and you don't have hope. But who is the God of hope? Our God. Like we said, Romans 15 is so valuable. The God of hope. So I just want you to have this reflection time. So if the worship team wants to come up, and we can go into this time, and you can just be reflecting, thinking about what is the Lord speaking to you? What is he telling you that you need to be maybe obedient to, that you gave up, maybe some time ago, or you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, or something that's really challenging or really hard, or maybe there is a struggle really with anxiety or depression. Coming back to the United States is kind of like, whoa, there's a lot of people struggling. It seems like more with depression and anxiety more than ever before. And it's the age of social media, all of this kind of thing. And so what do we need? We need personal connection with the Lord. And so I believe, this is why we come. This is why we're in a community of a church, right? Because you can come, you can lift one another up, you can pray for one another. And so we're going to open up the altar time. Lisa and I will pray, or the prayer team too will pray for you today. If you have needs, please come. And then afterwards, we'll be at the table, and we'd love to talk with you more. So thank you so much for hosting us and believing on us and supporting us all these years. So God bless you.